Welcome back to 4th grade ELA Corner. So really our 4th grade ELA Corner is no longer ELA. We are really doing 4th grade science where we do reading and writing. So I wanted to go over our assignments for June 2nd. Our writing prompt is going to say, use the diagram you drew during the reading to write a paragraph explaining the diagram. You may want to use the sentence starters, water waves change objects in two ways, first, second. And here's our reading. We're going to read Unit 4, Lesson 3, water waves affecting object shape and position. We're going to read pages 55 and 56, complete the text with notes activity on 57, and I'll go over that later. If you're in Ms. Harris's or Ms. Iacano's class, I wanted to go over this really fast. So let's say I wanted to do this. Whenever I go on here, it's a template attached. So whenever I'm doing this activity, all I'm going to do is press add response, and then the add response will pull up a template for you. If you're not in Ms. Harris or Ms. Iacano's class, or you don't use Seesaw, you probably had this emailed to you by your teacher or put on Canvas. Either way works perfectly fine as long as you have a way to fill it out and work on the activities. If you do not, please let us know. If you have any questions or concerns, let us know. This is going to be our observation. Observing phenomenon. Have you ever seen something vibrate because of a loud noise? What type of wave causes this vibration? Observe this phenomenon. Glitter jumps on the speaker. See, here's the glitter jumping on the speaker. Try it. Put a bowl next to a speaker, cover the bowl in plastic wrap, and put rice on the top of it. Turn up the music on the speaker. What happens to the rice? You don't have to try it, but you can visualize it. Think of what you already know about sound waves and what they do. Write your questions you have. You may have questions about how they move, how they make other things vibrate. Whatever questions you have, you're going to write them here. This is page 54. Fill in the paragraph below with the appropriate terms. Here's our word bank. I highly suggest marking them off once you use them. Let's read these words together. This word's object. What word? Object. This word's repeatedly. What word? Repeatedly. This word is move. What word? Move. This word is position. What word? Position. This word is wave. What word? Wave. To vibrate means too quickly, blank, back and forth, blank. A vibrating string on a guitar is an example of a moving blank that can create a sound, blank. Once a wave has been created, it can affect both the blank and the shape of the objects. My science concepts. Reflect on your understanding. Draw an X along each line. So you're going to say if you're still learning it, if you know it, and anywhere in between. So this one's like, yeah, I kind of got it. I kind of understand it. I'd mark here. Moving matter creates waves by causing a pattern of crests and troughs. For example, wind moving air can cause water waves. A hand moving can cause waves on a string, and hitting a drum can cause sound waves. Similarly, waves affect an object's position and change its shape. For example, water waves can make a buoy float up and down in small circles. Waves on a string can make a flag change shape and position. Sound waves can make water in a glass vibrate. So you're going to, where you understand it, using the model that waves are caused by moving matter and that waves cause matter to move, you can predict that waves still form whenever water moves, and that those waves still cause other matter to move. Still learning or knowing it. This is page 55. This is going to be text with notes. Water waves affect object shapes and positions. Suppose that it is a summer's day and you are in a neighborhood pool. You set an inflatable chair on the top of the water. You will notice little waves pass by as you bob up and down. Why do you move in the water? So I'm going to use my little mouse here to create this. So pretend like I had an inflatable chair and I'm bobbing up and down, up and down. So we're thinking about why we move in the water. Water waves can be formed. all water waves are caused by moving matter. Many water waves are caused by wind or moving air. First, the wind pushes a piece of water forward, but the water does not have the space to move forward since more water is in front of it. So the water moves upward instead, forming the crest of the wave. The weight of the crest pushes the water in front of it forward, which also gets pushed upward into a crest. Then as the new crest forms, the crest sinks back down and becomes a trough. The crest moves smoothly in the pattern over the surface of the water. Each part of the water gets pushed up into a crest and then sinks back down into a trough. This pattern repeats and spreads out, which forms water waves. So here the water is being forced up and ends the crest. And then we have a new, right? And so it's like, so then we have, it's like being forced up and over, right? And it's creating, as it's being forced upwards, a trough. So it goes like this. And then the next one goes down. We are now on page 56, text with notes. The motion of a wave can cause an object to change. It can cause an object to change in two different ways. Can you guess what ways it can cause the object to change? I'm not sure, so let's read. Water waves change an object's position. The first way that a water wave affects an object is by changing its position. Water waves push an object floating on the water. Recall that water waves moves in circles when a wave travels through it. So an object floating on the water also moves in circles when a wave passes. As the water pushes upward and backwards, the object is pushed upward and backwards. As the water moves forward and downward, it is pushed forward and downward. Consider the chair floating on the pool. It moves in circles because of the wave's motion. Water waves change an object's shape. The second way that a water wave can affect an object is by changing the object's shape. For example, the motion of a water wave can change the shape of rocks near the ocean because waves that hit large rocks push on them and can break off into pieces. When the pieces break off, the rock is a different shape. This change is called weathering. Weathering sometimes makes smooth rock, but it can also create rock formations like cliffs and caves. Weathering happens because the wave's motion pushes on the rock and changes their shape. It says it can cause an object to change in two different ways. So let's think of the two different ways. The position of an object or the shape of an object. And here we can look at this picture of how these cliffs have been made by weathering. Remember, weathering is when pieces are broken off and the rock changes shape. Let's move on to the next page. This is page 57. Draw and label a diagram that shows two ways that water waves can affect objects. Think about the patterns you saw in the videos. Include these labels in your illustration. Water waves, pushes, circles, locations, and shapes. So we just went over the reading activity. So you're going to do that activity on page 57. And then you're going to use the activity on page 57 to write about your diagram. Use the diagram you drew during reading to write a paragraph explaining the diagram. You may use a sentence starter. Water waves change objects in two ways, first and second. I hope you guys have a fantastic day.